Hello everybody, welcome back to the AdvancedVape channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the AZATHOTH RDA from CTHULHU. I might not be saying that right, and before we talk about the device itself, that name, it's a little bit difficult for me. To me it sounds like someone mispronouncing Azeroth, or at the very least it's too similar to Azeroth, which is something made by Coil Art. Not a huge fan of that name. But it has nothing to do with Azeroth, either the RDTA or the RTA that I reviewed not too long ago. So completely unrelated, except for the name is kind of similar. So this is an RDA made by CTHULHU, and it's very similar to the GAIA RDTA that I had a very positive review on not too long ago. So to me, this is kind of the RDA version of that. The airflows are basically the same as they are in the GAIA, although they're a little bit bigger on this. So you've got two bottom airflows, and then it has a velocity RDA style airflow on the side here that you can open or close by turning this section. So you can get both direct to coil air and bottom air. But unlike the GAIA, the deck is different. It's sort of this staggered four-post design where the bottom two are lower and the top two, or sorry, the inner ones are the bottom two and the outer ones are the top two, how they're kind of at different levels to make it easier to install coils. So building on this is not hard, but for me, trying to get them lined up with the bottom airflow can be a little bit difficult. So if you kind of just don't even try to get it super lined up with the bottom airflow, you can fit much bigger coils in here. But if you're trying to get it lined up with the bottom airflow, you're kind of limited in size to about how I have them. Any bigger, it's going to have problems with it shorting out when you put it on the top cap, because there's a little kind of recession in there, how the metal comes inwards a little bit at the top there. So as you put the cap down, it can end up touching there and making contact if you have them too far out. So to me, it would have been a little bit easier to have the bottom airflow in just a little bit to make it easier to fit bigger coils or to get them more over top of the airflow. But you can still get good performance by scooting them in and fitting a much bigger coil in there. But the way that I have them here, for me, that's about as big as I want to go. And this is a frame staple build with 6 pieces of ribbon in there. And if you notice, I basically put the bottom leg, the inner legs here, straight in on both of them. But I put the outer legs in at a sharp angle. So before I had it cut, it was at a very sharp angle, about as sharp as I could get it. And that helped me to keep them lined up and make sure that it didn't go completely crazy when I put the tension on the screws, and it would have stretched it out a whole lot if it wasn't at that angle. So if you're trying to fit them on the bottom airflow, I would suggest installing them like that. Okay, so let's go on and get through the dry fire, and then we'll wick it and try it out. So 2 things I want to point out while I was dry firing that. One, it comes with this screwdriver. It's kind of an Allen key flathead screwdriver, and I actually really like this. It fits it perfectly, and it's really sturdy. The second thing, this post here tends to rotate a little bit if you're really tightening it hard. And I've tried to tighten the screws on the bottom. There's a screw for the center pin, the 510 that's adjustable, and then there's a screw to the side. And I've tightened them both quite a bit, but it still will rotate on me just a little bit, and that's how this got spaced out. So, see, I can move it. I don't really like that. I'll try again while I'm filming here to tighten the 510. Yeah, this is the positive one. So tighten the 510 and see if we can get it to not be so loose. And here's what it looks like on the bottom here. You've got the positive pin screw there, if I'm not throwing it around. And that connects to the section that is isolated with the insulator, which is this one. And then you've got this one to the side. So I'm going to try and tighten both. Let me see which one it was that was loose. Okay, so it was the positive one. Okay, so I managed to get a real screwdriver and really tighten that down as hard as I could. And it seems to be much more sturdy now, but it's something that you'll have to continually check over and over again, because I've already tightened it a couple times and it seems to have loosened up on me again while I was doing builds on there. So there's no move in it anymore. It seems pretty sturdy, but I'm going to have to quickly dry fire it again because they got moved around while I was doing that. Alright, they look okay. So I'm going to zoom out and we'll talk about wicking. So obviously, because this is an RDA, wicking is going to be very simple. This does support a squonk pin. It comes with the squonk pin here. This is a little accessory bag it comes with. So you've got a squonk pin in there if you want. And I think that would probably work really well on this particular tank. So there's a lot of room in there for wick. So you don't really have to go conservative. You can just kind of stuff it in there. And I think even if you had it stuffed in there really well, the squonk pin would be able to saturate the cotton pretty well. So super easy on the wicking, as with any RDA. And I've noticed that I don't get any leaking off of this. I know a lot of bottom air RDAs are kind of notorious for leaking. This one, as you can see, the airflow is raised up and it's pushed out of the way, so even if you're just dumping juice straight down the drip tip, I haven't gotten any leaking by doing that. It tends to kind of divide itself fairly evenly by hitting the center thing and making its way to the cotton without getting down that airflow. And on this top cap, there are 3 openings if you wanted to do single coil. So obviously I'm going to have it on the dual coil. And I normally have this airflow open just a little bit, right about there, and the bottom air all the way open. And we're going to have it at 110 watts. So the first thing I noticed is that there's a lot more air than the GAIA. I'm going to try having it all the way open just to see what that's like. And I'm refilling it through the top here. I know the camera's kind of cutting it off. I didn't put a whole lot of cotton in there, so I'm going to have to refill it pretty frequently. That's a lot of air. On a freshly, if you just put juice in there, that's kind of the experience where there's just juice hitting your tongue. So, I mean, it has good flavor from that perspective, but it's not really the same as something with a little bit more restricted airflow, the way that just the characteristic of the flavor is different. So I'm going to close it back down, and I'll try it all the way closed. Yeah, that has a totally different feel to it. It's a lot more dense and warm with the staples in there. It just feels like a very concentrated flavor sort of thing, similar to the way the GAIA is. There's a little bit more airflow in those bottom things, but it still feels pretty restricted. And I'm used to using the Reload, which is a fairly restricted airflow. So to me, it feels more airy than that. Overall, though, flavor is very good. It's starting to get a little bit warm with just the bottom air. Staples tend to get hot if there's not enough air. And to me, the flavor is really, really good. It's just getting a little bit warm. Overall, it has a similar feel to the GAIA, although it feels a little bit more dense and concentrated feeling. And that might be because I don't tend to use the GAIA with just the bottom air. I don't feel like it's enough, so I open up the sides a little bit. And with this one, with the sides open, it's very airy and kind of just juice hitting your tongue, like I was saying. Overall, I like this RDA. There's a couple things that I wish were a little bit different. Like I talked about, it's hard to fit big coils in there and still hit that bottom air. If you scoot them in a little bit, you can fit way bigger coils in there. But if you're trying to hit the bottom airflow like I was, you're pretty much limited to the sides that I have on there, which are still big coils, but not as big as you could easily fit on the GAIA, with the bottom airflow kind of scooted in a little bit on that one. I'm a little bit worried about the center pin, how you have to keep tightening it. I don't like that it was as loose as that, and I really had to try very hard to tighten it enough so that it didn't move. So I think that's probably something that if you tighten it when you first get it, it won't be that big of a deal. Just make sure to do that and check it and make sure that yours is nice and tight. Overall, though, if you like the GAIA, you're going to really like this. A lot of people either like bottom or side air RDAs, and this is sort of a good combination between the two. I personally think that the side air works better on this than it does on the Velocity RDA, seeing as how that's kind of all there is with the Velocity. I like having both of them there, and even having it closed, I like that there's the option to open it up just a little bit as it is getting a little bit hot. I don't tend to open it up much past this, though. To me, that's just a little bit too airy. If I put huge coils in there and was kind of ignoring that bottom air or scooting it in a little bit more, then obviously I would go more with the side air. With the exception of that center pin that I talked about, everything else is made really well. All the threads are smooth, and that's just kind of typical for this brand. And I feel like any issues that I had with this are kind of nitpicking. I think most people wouldn't have any problem fitting their coils in there, as most people don't use coils that are bigger than the ones that I have on here. So overall, I think it's a good RDA and a good choice if you're looking for an RDA that's not super expensive and that's flexible enough to do different things depending on what you're looking for. Yeah, I like it. I kind of wish that they had gone with a different name, though. So that'll bring us to the end of this video about the AZATHOTH, hopefully I'm saying that right, RDA from Cthulhu. If you like this video on our channel, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them below in the comments or send me an email. Thanks.